with Kate Kelly. She's a homelessness and equity advocate. She's also an artist and a mom. Hello, Kate.
Hi, Marisol.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Please tell me about yourself. What makes you happy?
What makes me happy is being at a point in my life where I've learned to value the things that I took for granted before, um, like, things that I may have seen as obstacles or barriers in the past. I've realised that they're actually skills, and I'm happy to be able to actually use those skills in the real world to help improve the lives of other people.
And when you started as a homelessness and equity advocate, what were the things you wanted to change?
I wanted to level the playing field, essentially, and I wanted to take a perspective out into the world of lived experience, of disadvantage, of disability, of navigating systems from a place of having to use those systems. So I wanted to make some structural change to how people like me can create their own pathways to equity in all areas of life, and to have more agency about the decisions made about them, and to actually be at the table making those decisions as well.
And what has been the greatest or most difficult challenge?
Navigating ableist systems and classist systems with that disadvantage. So I'm a person living with a disability. I am from a very low socioeconomic group. I have some mobility issues in terms of, access, I guess, not physical mobility, but in terms of being able to access equal things in an equal way, I guess, to people without, mental health issues or carer responsibilities or income barriers or educational barriers. So the hardest thing for me, ironically, has been also the thing that is the reason I want to do this stuff. Because if you don't try and make a change in the areas that are impacting you, you just end up being a passive receiver of, systems and ideas. And I've never been a particularly passive person. So for me, it's about wanting to make the world a more equal, more accessible, a more fulfilling and a more agency-filled place for people who start out at a lower place in life.
And what is the best part of being a change maker for you?
Well, it's funny because I don't know that I see myself as a change maker, but I guess I am in a way. And for me, it's the best thing is when other people actually come to me and I realise that my experiences resonate with them, and learning that the things that I took for granted, as I was saying before, about the things that you don't necessarily put on your CV, the things you've survived, the things you've adapted to, the things that you've modified and wrangled with in your life to try and, get your needs met. They're actually skills, but they're not the kind of things you'd put on a CV. And we often don't value what it takes for a person to become resilient and to be able to maintain their empathy and to be able to help other people. Being an advocate is hard, and it's a real privilege. So the thing for me about being a change maker is that I measure my success by a situation. If I go into it, I look at how have I benefited that situation after I've been involved with that. How have those people benefited after being involved with what I'm doing? So yeah, every little connection I make with someone, every time someone comes up to me and says, hey, I really love what you're doing, it's really unique to hear my story spoken by you and to see that valued, and that for me is the most fulfilling aspect of it, because I would like everyone to feel they can be a change maker, but unfortunately not everyone can advocate for themselves, so that's why I'm trying to do it.
If you were in a position of power or influence, what would you change?
Well, I would, for a start, I would have those people who worked under me or alongside me check their own starting levels of privilege. I would try and look for areas where I was working that were barriers for people who, were from minority groups or marginalised cohorts. I would like everyone to feel that they could, attempt to undertake roles with, fulfilment and governance and, and that kind of, leadership reward built in. So if I were part of an organisation, say, I would look to the weakest links in that organisation in terms of pathways that were equal and accessible for everybody, and I'd try and work to change that culture.
And what is the piece of advice you wish you would have gotten when you started your journey as a change maker, Kate?
Well, it's funny because I actually got a lot of really good advice, but I didn't understand at the time how useful it was. And in retrospect, one of those pieces of advice was that, I've had a very varied work life. I've done a lot of low-paying jobs. I once kind of was told I was a professional dilettante, which I didn't really like, because that suggested that I would give up easily, or I would not stick at things. And a lot of that has been to do with, my disability. I've struggled to maintain, normal work hours and those kind of things. So for me, the best piece of advice I was given was all of those little achievements you make, you're doing a waitering job, or you're writing something, or you're doing, and then you go, oh, but that didn't lead on to a bigger thing in that area, so you kind of chuck it over your shoulder. And one day someone said to me, okay, you do all these things, you're not a specialist in one thing, but you've got all these little skills that are really valuable, but they don't stick together, and so you discard them. And they said, look over your shoulder. And the idea is that there's a mountain of achievement there, that we often don't value our own achievements if they don't follow a traditional career pathway, or they don't become an area of expertise or a high-paying job. But every little bit of experience you have actually strengthens your skill set, and I think we're moving towards a culture where a varied skill set and a range of life experiences is actually way more valuable than just being a specialist in one area. So, that was something someone said to me back then, and at that time I thought, oh yeah, you're just trying to make me feel better about the fact that I'm not a professional in any one thing. But now that is actually the body of work I've done that's led me to have all of the skills I need to do what I'm doing now.
And Kate, you're going through some changes in your life right now. Would you like to talk about them?
Yeah, the main changes I'm going through, I mean, the last 10 years have been, I've gone from, being a single person, kind of just doing my own thing, to, working in the arts. I'm now a mum, I'm a single mum. I have, a child who has autism, and I have carer responsibilities as well with other family members. And I guess even 3 years ago, if you had have said to me, you'll in this time, 4 or 5 years, you will write a book, you will run for local government, you will do all these things, I wouldn't have believed you, because I was really struggling just to pay my rent and feed myself and my kid and just get through every day. But yeah, what has changed for me is that I found safe and secure social housing, and from that I've been able to work on all those other areas in the Maslow's hierarchy that you can't address when you're living in crisis. So yeah, the changes I'm going through now, I feel like I'm finally in a place where I can take on my dreams and challenges and start pursuing the life that I envisioned for myself. And the picture I had of the way I wanted my life to be, now I feel like, that's becoming the picture of my life I have every day, and I love it. And so the changes that I'm going through at the moment are benefiting me and my child and the community, and I just feel really excited about doing more.
That's so beautiful to hear, Kate. So what's in your heart that you would like to pass on?
That kindness is, again, another thing this same person said, my dad, kindness is a cut and come again pie, is what he calls it. And you can never be too kind. You can never give too much. You can, if you don't have boundaries, you can risk burnout and you can overcompromise. But it's possible to be kind and fair and also have those boundaries in place. And that's something I've learned, and it's something that, you know, I would like other advocates to know from their heart, is that it's okay to say no. Sometimes you have to say no. And yeah, if you're guided by kindness, I think you just can't really go wrong. I think it's one thing that costs nothing in this world where everything has a price now. And if you can make a choice to be kind to somebody, you never know how much that might change that person's life that day.
Thank you so much, Kate, for sharing all this insight with us. And I really wish you all the best with your project. And I really hope that the change making in your life brings more and more happiness and fulfillment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marisol.
Mhm.